Spain and England.
What did you know about the Spanish history before involving in the Spanish princess?
You know, I knew about the Spanish Inquisition and I knew about things like that. I didn't really know a crazy amount, but the great thing about getting the Spanish princess is that it inspired me to learn more about the history.
Mm-hmm.
And what fascinated me was the fact that the history of the Moors themselves is something that I hadn't really heard of or hadn't been taught. So it was really interesting to me to do research on that and find out the influence that the Moors had on Spain during this time, and you know, the reason for the Spanish Inquisition, and then also about Catherine of Aragon herself, because you know, she came from Spain to England, and I don't think it ever processed in my head that, okay, she's from a different country. Like, you just assumed, okay, she was the Queen of England. Okay, great. You don't realize that, you know, the lineage she came from, her family, mm-hmm. what happened with, you know, with her mother and, you know, her father, and their influence on Spain and everything like that. So definitely getting the role as Lina inspired me to learn more about Spanish history, definitely.
Great.
I think I knew a little bit. Like, I knew about the unification of Spain to become a kingdom. I knew about Portugal. I knew about the Moors going into the south of Spain through Andalusia. Mm-hmm. And I knew a bit about Catherine of Aragon coming to England, but then I've had to learn so much more and do a lot more research into kind of the military of Spain in that time period, the Spanish Empire. I knew bits about them going to the Americas. I had to learn a lot about that particular time period and what Catherine of Aragon did and how she kind of transformed England.
Oh, that's great. The story of Lina and Oviedo, I love it. It's the cutest couple of the show. For them, loyalty is very important. Are you, both of you, consider that the modern world lost this quality?
I would say, yeah. I think, you know, loyalty, especially during, you know, difficult times, is important. And I think Lina and Oviedo respectively are very loyal people. They're loyal to their beliefs, they're loyal to the people around them, they're loyal to, you know, their duty. And it makes sense that they would fall for each other. It makes sense that they would fall in love, because their qualities are actually very, very similar, and their foundations are pretty much the same. And I think that's part of the reason why the audience loves the relationship between Lina and Oviedo, because they're relatable. They just want to be happy, but you know, from outside forces and things that are happening around them, it sometimes tests that loyalty, because you know, one thing kind of overtakes another, which then compromises the loyalty between the two of them and in regards to other people.
Yes.
I agree. Not much more I can say than that. Then I agree. I think Lina and Oviedo truly believe in the sanctity of a strong union, of a relationship between two people, of a marriage. And I can't really comment for everybody else in modern day society. Maybe some people have lost that, maybe some people still have that, but I think for those two characters, that's a fundamental for them as individuals, and that makes their couple, their unity even stronger.
In times of quarantine, like now, the TV show series are a great company for people. Can you feel closer to the audience in this moment?
I think so, yeah. I think for people who need something to distract them, to take away from a thing, or maybe through quarantine and through the pandemic currently, they have something that's a problem in their life and they want to try and find a way through that. I think through watching a television show like The Spanish Princess, it can help them either through escapism or through seeing other people go through a particular problem or a situation, and them finding a different way to navigate whatever's going on in their life at that particular moment in time.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Stephanie, for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, just to go back to what Erin said, is definitely a form of escapism. You know, every time you switch on the news or you go on the internet or you go on, there's always something, you know. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to escape into another world, into another era, and indulge yourself within the storyline of that. Now, granted, many things in history haven't changed, and I think one of the most powerful things about, you know, television and film is that the audience can relate their situations to what they see on screen. Sometimes, you know, you hear people saying, oh, you know, that character did something and that inspired me to do this. And even though, you know, it is period drama, there are still very human aspects to it that people relate to. So, yeah.
And consider that knowing history can help us to improve our lives from today.
But there's still things that we need to learn from.
Of course.
History still repeats itself in many ways, but you know, we can take courage in the fact that there are things that have changed in vast amounts. So, you know, the women's voices are being heard more and respected more. And you see that the women in The Spanish Princess are fighting for their voices to be heard. So, you know, that's one thing that I do believe is slowly changing. And obviously the presence of people, Black people in the court, you know, things like being able to see the representation of Black people within the period drama is something that is incredible.
For the final, I ask you, both of you, say something in Spanish. Say hi or goodbye, please.
Okay.
No pasa nada. ¿Quieres empezar?
Sí. Muchas gracias a todos. Estoy muy orgulloso de la princesa española. Y sí. Y sí, gracias por todo.
Sí.
Oh, really good. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Hasta luego.
Adiós.
Men and women of England, I promise you, I would never stop fighting